Hey ladies, welcome to The Power of the Ask, the podcast where we ditch the waiting and embrace the asking for what we truly deserve.
Welcome to The Power of the Ask.
Welcome to The Power of the Ask podcast, the podcast that helps you get what you need personally and financially. We are so glad you're here today. My name is Lisa Zeiderman. I'm managing partner of Miller Zeiderman, and I am one of the co-hosts with my dear friend, Precious Williams. Hi, Precious.
Well, you heard Queen Lisa. My name is Precious Williams. I'm the proud founder and CEO of the Perfect Pitch Group and affectionately known as the Killer Pitch Master. And so welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This week, we're excited to introduce you to Katrina Volker. Katrina Volker has diverse work experience spanning over several companies. Katrina began their career in 2005 at St. Catherine University, where they worked as a field information coordinator until 2013. During this time, they also held the position of administrative assistant at College of St. Catherine from 2005 to 2009. In 2006, Katrina briefly worked as an executive assistant at Mindbrain. In 2013, Katrina joined OurFamilyWizard, where they have held various positions. Katrina started as a professional liaison and held this role until 2022. From 2022 to 2023, they served as Director of Professional Relationships. Currently, Katrina holds the position of Vice President of Professional Relationships at OurFamilyWizard, starting in January 2023. Overall, Katrina Volker has gained significant experience in professional relationships and coordination roles throughout their career. We're so happy to have you here today, Katrina. Let's dive in with Queen Lisa to kick us off.
Hi, Katrina. I'm so thrilled that you're here. I can't tell you how many people use our Family Wizard that we know in my office. So we are really, really excited to have you part of this and to have you representing our Family Wizard. You know, so many people see the VP title, but they don't see the whole journey behind it, Katrina. And you and I have spoken about the journey. You started your career in administrative roles before growing into executive leadership. What are some of the defining asks that helped shape your career?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Precious and Lisa, for allowing me to be here today. It's such an honor. So I'm going to bring it all the way back to the beginning of my career. When I was a freshman in college, my dad was actually laid off from his job at Northwest Airlines as an airline mechanic. And in light of those circumstances, I didn't want to ask him for help, so I had to figure out how to pay for college. So at the time, I was a student worker and someone in the office was retiring. I came in over the summer to help out. And eventually I asked if they'd consider me for the full-time role. I know I didn't have any experience, but I figured, why not ask? So I did, and they hired me. And one of the benefits of working for the college was I was able to get free tuition. So it allowed me to continue to pursue my degree, which was really amazing. And then at that time, there were two of us in the office. So it was me and my boss. And then my boss ended up stepping away. She went on leave for an extended period of time. And then during that time, I had taken over quite a bit of her work. So when it came time to hire for her role, I went back and asked if I could be considered for a promotion and if I could take on that role. And they said yes, which was amazing. Again, so I was able to hire someone to backfill for my previous position. This really gave me a lot of confidence and led me to really my next move. So backing up to the late 90s, my parents went through a divorce. And although they were not high conflict, it was just a lot of miscommunications. We had 4 kids in the family and different kids going to different activities, sports. Everyone meant well, but I think wires got crossed. It was a lot of miscommunications throughout the years. At that time, we had also just gotten dial-up internet. So that had inspired my dad to come up with an idea to keep everyone on the same page. And that's kind of where OurFamilyWizard was born. So OurFamilyWizard, if you don't know, we're a communication tool for divorced and separated parents. It's a shared calendar, expense log, journal entry, messages, and more. But back then, this was before Google Calendars, Outlook calendars. So the idea was really well ahead of its time, which is pretty cool. And at the time, my dad had reached out to his cousin who was a divorce attorney. So she was a litigator and she thought it was a great idea. She also saw the value in the documentation and accountability piece of it. So not only was it a great organizational tool, it served many other purposes. And her son was in business school at the time, and he, along with a couple of his classmates, used the idea for a business plan as their capstone project in college. And keep in mind that we launched in 2001, but the iPhone didn't come out until 2007. So the technology really had to catch up with the idea. At that time, so I suppose fast forward to 2012, 2013, my dad said, I was finishing my master's degree. He said, go interview for a job at the Wizard. And I thought, no, this company, it's so small. I don't even know how successful it's going to be. So I went ahead, I interviewed with them, and really just to please my dad, just to, I'll give it a shot. So I went in, didn't think I'd actually end up working there. Took the interview, then they came back and offered me the job. I don't know why I didn't think that could potentially happen, but I thought, oh gosh, now I got to make a decision. So I sent a really aggressive counteroffer. And the company was small at the time, so they probably didn't have a lot to be able to offer me. But I thought, you know what? I've already been working full time for a decent amount of years. I've gained a lot of experience. Like, I'm worth more than what they're offering. So I sent a really aggressive counteroffer. I showed my dad the email, and he said, you cannot send this. There's no way you can send this. It is way too direct, way too. And I said, well, that's too bad because I already sent it. So I sent the email, and they offered me the job. We didn't have to go back and forth. They took what I offered. And I think it also set the tone. I think I earned some respect too right off the bat, which was really helpful. So for me, to answer your question, I think it was about showing up, asking for the job, because that got me just about every position. And then also asking for what I'm worth.
Katrina, that's really incredible. That's so incredible. And I think it's amazing that you earned both of your bachelor's and your master's degrees while still building your career. So was there a moment when you realized you were capable of leading at such a much higher level than others may have expected, including yourself?
Yeah, I think I was really fortunate to be surrounded by supportive women early in my career. It was an all-women's university that I went to, and I worked full-time for the school social work. And the professors that I worked alongside, while they were happy with the work I was doing, they knew that this was not the end of my career. And so they made it very clear that they wanted to see me succeed after I finished up my schooling. We had a lot of conversations about future career growth. They were very supportive. And then during my master's program, it was very similar to an MBA, but with an ethics emphasis, is kind of how they framed it. And it required at least 5 years of full-time work experience before you could start the program. So I was quite a bit younger than most of the students in the program. And it really gave me the opportunity to learn from the leaders that were in the classes that I was taking in that program. And I was just really inspired by the people who have been successful and still continue to stay true to who they are. So I saw a lot of that throughout my time at the university.
Your entire career has really centered around professional relationships, Katrina. What have you learned about the difference between asking for something and earning the trust that makes people want to say yes to you?
Yeah, I think the most important part of any role that I've had is to build trust in an authentic way. So this rarely happens fast. It takes time, but I think it's worth the time because it's a much stronger relationship when you take time to do it right. For me, that was showing up in a lot of different ways. So listening more than talking, I would say, is a big one. Offering to help when it was needed. And then once you've earned someone's trust, the ask is really easy. I don't find the ask being hard when I have that relationship. I find the ask being difficult if I haven't built the relationship. And I also just think it's important to not be afraid to ask. The worst that can happen is they'll say no.
True that. Many of our listeners know that financial decisions and family decisions often collide during divorce. What advice do you give for professionals or even parents about separating emotion from conversations that matter the most?
Yeah, so I'm not an attorney, so I can't give legal advice, but here's what I would say. one of the hardest parts of divorce is that you're making some of the biggest financial decisions and parenting decisions of your life at the exact moment that your emotions are at the highest. It's totally normal, but it also means that it's important to create some structure around those conversations. So I think my advice is to focus on the issue you're trying to solve, not the history behind it. So for example, if you're discussing extracurricular expenses, keep the conversation about the expense, not what happened 2 or 3 years ago. If you're talking about a parenting schedule, for example, center the discussion on what the child's needs are rather than trying to win against the other parent. And then for professionals, whether you're a financial professional, an attorney, a therapist, or all of the above, you can play an important role by helping clients slow the conversation down. I think encouraging them to rely on the facts and the documentation. If there's a agreed upon order or parenting agreement, instead of reacting in the moment. When people have, I think, a clear framework for communication, they're much more likely to make decisions that they feel good about in the moment, but also in the future. I think, months or years later, they can still feel good about that. And I don't think the goal is to eliminate the emotion, because that's probably impossible to do. But I do think that keeping the emotion from driving every decision is probably the more important piece of it. So when parents can separate their feelings from the task at hand, they make better financial choices. They'll communicate more effectively and create a more stable environment for their children at the end of the day.
You have spent years working with attorneys, therapists, judges, family law professionals, family professionals. Has working alongside so many people with so much expertise changed the way that you approach leadership, negotiation, and the running of Our Family Wizard?
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely learned a lot over the years. And I think early on, I thought a leader had to be one person leading a group of people. But I think it's equally as important to lead in other ways. And I really think a collaborative approach is best. And when I say collaborative, I think collaborative law is really amazing, but I mean it in the context of being collaborative, as in one person doesn't know everything, and that's true in every space. So regardless of what you're doing or who you're working with, collaborating with other people so that you can lean on each other's expertise is going to make all the difference. I also think I've learned that it's important to set clear expectations, and having empathy, especially in the space that I work in. You don't know what someone has been through. You don't know their past. You don't know what they're dealing with in that moment. There's a lot of trauma involved through the divorce and court process. So having empathy always helps this situation. And then there's always new research, new laws, new best practices. I think it's helped me to learn that I need to be constantly learning, be curious, and then continue to improve my work.
So the career advice today often sounds like, if you want a promotion, find a new employer. But your career tells quite a different story. You've continued to evolve, take on bigger roles, and ultimately become vice president, all within one organization. It's almost like unheard of today. What were some of the asks you made internally that allowed you to keep growing instead of just, looking out elsewhere?
Yeah, great question. Well, I guess on the similar theme of collaboration, I collaborated with a lot of different teams across different departments, and just asking, can I work on these projects? It gives you exposure to different parts of the company. I've learned a lot about software development, marketing, customer support through those projects that I've worked on. And it's really helped to give me a different lens, and the ability to step back and see things at a bigger picture. And then just asking for leadership opportunities to be part of high impact projects. So even before I had the title, I was working on major partnerships with trade organizations in this space, training in new team members, working on thought leadership projects. That's one of my favorite things to do. And then being willing to change as the company grows while staying true to my values. And then asking for feedback, I think, is also really important. You're not going to get it right all the time. I certainly have not, but getting good feedback so you can learn and improve is really important. And then having a good mentor that'll be honest with you to give you that feedback and push you. I was really lucky where I had a strong mentor at my company. And if you don't have that, go find one. They don't have to be within your company, but I think mentorships are incredibly valuable. And then, I think being emotionally invested in the work has really helped me in this space. Continue to want to learn more and grow in this space. I'll attend conferences and I try to learn as much as I possibly can. And then, I would just go back to, before asking for the promotion, ask for more responsibility.
Well, I can safely say the following. Our Family Wizard has become a trusted tool for families navigating one of life's most difficult transitions. And I will also say, although you might not be prepared for it, but today I was at trial and just about all the exhibits that went in were Our Family Wizard messages. So I can tell you that not only is it a trusted tool for families, it's trusted by the attorneys. It is trusted by the court system. The exhibits go in quickly and almost effortlessly, as opposed to emails and text messages that take so much time to actually get into evidence. And they are beautifully date stamped when they are opened, when they are sent. And so I'm looking at one and thinking to myself, well, the person is testifying that it took a really long time, but actually it was the same day, opened and answered and sent. So I'm not really sure what that person was speaking about, but there is no question that Our Family Wizard is being used by families across the country. And for you, that has to be very meaningful. For you, what has been the most meaningful about seeing this technology, this particular technology, actually reduce conflict in families and improve the communication between parents? Because that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I would say, as a child of divorce, it does mean the world to me that we can help reduce conflict for children across the country and around the world. We're in several different countries now and just launched in Europe too, which is really exciting. Divorce is considered an ACE, which is an adverse childhood experience. NPR has a website with the ACEs test, and it explains that ACEs scores it's basically a tally of different types of abuse, neglect, and other hallmarks of a rough childhood. So according to the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, the rougher your childhood, the higher your score is likely to be, and the higher your risk is for health problems later in life. But there are PACEs, which are positive childhood experiences, and early research suggests that they can actually help offset ACEs. So my hope is that by reducing conflict for kids, it can help set them up for a healthier, more successful life.
I'm going to ask you just to go back to that a little bit for a second. Mm-hmm. So it's called ACEs, ACES? Yep.
Correct.
Okay, I've never heard that expression. So I learned something brand new tonight that I'm sure I'm going to be able to use.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. It's a study that was done I believe in the 90s, and over a span of time, a huge span of time, with significant sample size of kids that they followed through their life. And I believe it's 10 different categories. But divorce is one of those categories that can negatively impact the children's health. And if the more you score on the ACEs test, the more likely you are to have negative health outcomes in the long run. But again, these positive childhood experiences can help to offset some of these negative ones. So hoping to be part of that side of things.
Well, I'm with Queen Lisa. That's something I never knew before. So thank you for explaining that, Katrina.
Yeah, of course.
So Katrina, what's one ask you wish more women felt comfortable making earlier in their careers?
Yeah, for me, it's as simple as this is, just asking for help. I think sometimes we feel like we need to do it all, especially as women. And I find that in reality, I can do a better job when I ask for help. And I definitely learned that more as I became a parent, because there's just not enough hours in the day to do everything. So for me, just simple things. I hired a cleaning person while I was traveling every week for work, and that allowed me to free up time when I came home where I could do things that I value, like spend time with my family. I also think, asking for help in ways like I've hired a speaking coach. I think that could be something that could be useful. Talking to a therapist. There's also so many great therapists that specialize in things like corporate burnout, and really understand the things that we're dealing with when you're in the business space. So I think asking for help can be really, really helpful, and it's a good thing.
Ladies, are you ready to take control of your future? Do you dream of financial stability, freedom, and a life that truly deserves you?
For over 20 years, Savvy Ladies has empowered women from all walks of life to make smart financial choices, achieve our goals, and build a brighter future.
We built Savvy Ladies as a community of women supporting women. We offer free financial educational programs, a trusted helpline, and guidance and advice from America's top financial professionals.
You can access the financial helpline at savvyladies.org or where you get your apps under Savvy Ladies. Savvy Ladies equips you with the knowledge, confidence, and support you need to thrive. So don't wait. Join Savvy Ladies today and start building your financial confidence and well-being now. All right, we are moving on to my favorite section, the rapid fire section. So there'll be a whole host of questions. We're going to answer them quickly. And I'm going to start with the first one. Katrina, if you could instantly master one skill, what would it be?
I would like to learn a new language.
Oh, me too. What's one app on your phone you couldn't live without besides OurFamilyWizard?
Ooh, great question. There's so many good apps. I downloaded the Be Present app. This is kind of, I guess, reverse of probably what you're looking for, but it actually creates focus time. So you're not using your phone during certain times, and it allows me to be more intentional with my time. So you don't open up your phone and start scrolling on different things that you didn't intend to do. So that's been really helpful.
If you had to describe yourself using only 3 emojis, which ones would you pick?
Ooh, this is hard. I would say I'm not sure if I'm going to call these the correct things, but the running girl, because I do a lot of running, and that for me is, I would say one of my biggest mental health things is to make sure I'm running on a regular basis. The stack of books. I love reading and learning. And then the airplane. Love to travel. I've done so much travel for work, but for fun, I enjoy traveling so much.
All right. What's the TV show or podcast you're currently obsessed with?
I would say Hidden Brain, the podcast Hidden Brain. I love learning about how our minds work, and they just do a really great job. And of course, this one.
Beach vacation, mountain getaway, or big city adventure? Which one?
Well, considering I just got home from a mountain vacation yesterday, I'm going to go with mountain vacation. We were in Colorado in the mountains for a few days, and there's nothing better than just being in nature, totally unplugging. Just is really grounding.
I was recently in Salt Lake City, and when I tell you the mountains are so close, I just love it. So if your friends had to describe you in one word, what would that word be?
I think spontaneous. I'm always up for doing something different.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received in 5 words or less?
This one's hard because 5 words or less is tricky. So I'm going to go with 2 words. I think have conviction. So when you decide to do something, have conviction in that decision, whether it's, if it's a yes, let it make it be a yes. If it's a no, it's a no.
If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Well, considering I was named after Katrina and the Wave, I'm going to go with Walking on Sunshine.
That's right.
Next is the question we ask all our guests. It's our final question. Why is the power of the ask so important to women, Katrina, especially financially? Why is it so critical?
Yeah, I think this goes back again to attending an all-women's university. One of the things that stuck with me that a professor told me early on was that women don't make as much money as men. And it's definitely not because we don't work as hard, but it's because the main reason she said was because we don't ask for it. And I think it's so important that we know our worth and advocate for ourselves. So come to the table with talking points to articulate, why you deserve more, do your research. And I think it's critical because as a woman, you need to have the ability to be financially independent. Having money to save and invest gives you the ability to walk away from a toxic relationship or a toxic job if you ever needed to.
Katrina, thank you so much for coming on to the Power of the Ask. We really appreciate all that you do and all your support and our family wizard, of course. So we really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
So you know how we do. Katrina has been another one of our esteemed guests on the Savvy Ladies Power of the Ass podcast. As you know, tell a friend to tell a friend. What? Tell a friend. Subscribe. Tell your friends about it and keep coming back. Our guests get better and better and better. You heard Katrina. You've got to ask. And the more that you ask, the easier that it gets. So the Power to Ask podcast is all about helping women have money conversations and about asking for more, doing more, and being more. Welcome back to the Power of the Ask podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Power of the Ask, ladies.
Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to spread the love with #PowerOfTheAsk.